Cycle patterns consist of 3 or more chords whose roots move counterclockwise through the cycle of fifths. Any cycle pattern can be implied by simply using the root and the bass, root position, of any dominant seventh, major or minor chord whose roots follow the cycle of fifths. And this invariably produces a very, very pleasing interval leap, as opposed to stepwise motion, of up a fourth or down a fifth. For example, we have here E to A, E up to A, E down to A. It's the same note, so whether you voice an E chord moving up to A or down, still sounds good, and it sounds very, very strong. Now, before I give you a few examples of different chord qualities following the cycle, I want to talk about this fifth in the bass voicing, which becomes a very good root in the bass voicing by simply moving the note that's on the sixth string on the same fret across to the fifth string. I now have a root in the bass, so I can go root to root instead of going. Of course, I could go like this. This would be E, A, D, G. So you can use the fifth string in conjunction with the sixth very nicely on a cycle. Well, here's just a couple of examples. Here's E minor 7 to A7, D7 to G. That could be embellished. Could be embellished further. One of the interesting things about this sound, whether you're playing minor or dominant, is this stepwise motion that's going on in the upper voice. Let's just look at E7, A7, D7, G. Let's just look at D7, G. You see this F sharp here, which is the third of D. When I move to the G7, it moves stepwise down to F. So the third of D moved to the flatted seventh of G. The flatted seventh of D moved to the third of G. So what happens in a cycle pattern is that these tones, which are called tritones, incidentally, move down chromatically. Let me take a chord progression: D7, G7, C7, F7. I can play this D, G, C, and that up a fourth, down a fifth, up a fourth. I could start the D here, down the fifth, up a fourth, down the fifth. I could also do that stepwise motion, because remember, the F sharp goes to F and the C goes to B. So I could take F sharp is the third of D. That's a G7, C7, F7. Or I could take the flatted seventh of D, which is C, 7 in the bass. So here you see I have 4 possible bass notes for the progression. I have 3 to flat 7 to 3, root to root, going up a fourth, down a fifth, or the opposite, root to root, going down a fifth, up a fourth. So lots and lots of possibilities. Frankly, the most interesting and strongest is when you use root in the bass and save the half-step motion to the upper voices. And now I'll let you see this in a chord progression that is very similar to the chord progression that they use in the tune Autumn Leaves. Go over it. A minor 7, D7. See the stepwise motion going on here? A minor 7, D7, G, C, F sharp, B, E. See that motion going down? A minor, D, G, C, F sharp minor, 7 flat 5, B7, E. Most popular songs have both stepwise and skipwise motion in them, and I'm going to play two progressions that contain stepwise and skipwise motion. And the first one is a progression from Moon River. The second one is a progression from the Days of Wine and Roses, just little sections of it. But the stepwise motion, the first two chords, A minor to A minor 7, you recognize that as being adjacent chords with common tone root. Go stepwise into the F sharp minor 7, which now goes through the cycle of fifths. F sharp B, E, A, D, G. So we have A minor 7, F sharp, B7, E minor, A7, D7, G. When I embellish it, or I could go so many sounds like that are created by a melodic thought process, which goes on top of the cycle, which goes on top of the chord progressions. And that's the actual embellishment is the melody itself. Here's a progression from the last part of Days of Wine and Roses. D minor 7, you know that moves it down. Keep it moving in the same direction. B flat 13, and now we have a cycle, A minor, D minor, A minor 7, D minor, G minor, C7, F. Now I'm going to play Greensleeves, which is a big cycle tune. I happen to have a lot of those tunes in print in different ways. And this is a very short arrangement, so you might want to call this short sleeves.